Welcome to a world where wonder meets worry, a realm where concrete coexists with the abstract, the unexplained, the unexplored, and the unseen. Open your mind and open the door to the dimension of the unknown. Experience something terrifying after using an old evil eye bracelet. I, 22 female, had a very horrible experience about 2 or 3 years ago. My boyfriend, 22 male, and I had been dating for less than a year when this happened. My partner is of Latino descent, and I am white. My boyfriend's family are believers of the Mal Diojo bracelets, or in English, the evil eye. They taught me that the evil eye in their culture is used for protection. Like if someone gives you a bad look, or if they look at you with bad intent or envy. They then taught me that if the bracelet becomes lost or broken, that means that the bracelet has done its job and protected you. My partner and I were hanging out one day at his house when he came across an old evil eye bracelet that used to belong to him. He had lost the bracelet some time before. He asked me if I wanted it, and he said that it would protect me. From what I understand, someone can gift you their evil eye bracelet, and it should still protect you, even if it had a previous wearer. I accepted my boyfriend's offer and decided to wear the bracelet, but I didn't really believe in that stuff. I grew up Christian, and I still believe in God to this day, and am fairly religious. I went home later that day, and I was living with my aunt and uncle at the time. My aunt and uncle were very hardcore religious, and so their house felt beyond safe most of the time. I never got any bad energy or negative feelings there, nor did I ever experience anything bad or paranormal there. That night, I went to bed wearing the bracelet, with nothing really in my mind. I don't know how long I had been asleep for, or what time I had woke up, but I remember waking up screaming and thrashing. I can't remember any previous nightmare or dream prior to waking, but as I was waking myself up with my screaming and thrashing, I swear I felt something grabbing my arm, the arm that I was wearing the bracelet on. I remember that I was grabbing my own arm as well with my other hand, almost as if I was trying to reinforce my other arm that was being grabbed. I think I had managed to shake off whatever was grabbing me at the time, because as I was really waking up, I suddenly felt something at the end of my bed, and with a hard tug, it tried to rip my blanket off of me. I held onto my blanket firmly, and it eventually let go. I laid there in the pitch black darkness with my eyes wide open, just staring at the ceiling until I felt it was safe enough to grab my remote control that turned my LED light strips on and off. I turned on the lights and saw nothing at all. I stayed awake for maybe 10 minutes just looking around and being on my phone. I fell asleep again. I don't know how I was able to, but I did, with the lights on, of course. I had never, ever experienced anything like this, and there's no way I could have been asleep or dreaming still, because I distinctly remember waking up screaming and thrashing, and absolutely feeling something. Now, I don't know if something had been attached to that bracelet, or if it was just crazy coincidence or not, but it was just terrifying, and I didn't feel comfortable going home the next day to sleep in my own bed again. The bracelet remained in my home, but I had taken it off to shower and did not put it back on. I never experienced anything like that again, even though the bracelet remained in my home in my jewelry dish. If any of you practice with the craft, or are into the paranormal, and culturally practice and believe in the Mal Diojo, or evil eye, I'd like to hear your thoughts or speculations as to what you think could have happened. I've spent years telling myself it was sleep paralysis. I, an 18 male, had my encounter 8 or so years ago. I woke up in the middle of the night. My door was open, and the thin part of the door that has the latch was facing me. I saw what I believed was a little girl, glowing white, wearing a dress, with her back turned to me and facing the thin part of the door. Probably 5 or 6 years old. She was covering her face with her hands like she was crying, I told myself that I was seeing things in the dark, and that it was probably a towel hanging on the handle or something. I put my head under the covers and poked it out a few times. Eventually, though, I watched it fade away until it was totally gone. The second it disappeared, my little brother, 1.5 or 2 years old at the time, started screaming in his bedroom right next to mine. Not uncommon for a toddler to cry in the middle of the night, but he was screaming, and he started right when it disappeared. I'm slightly doubtful because it was Halloween night, and maybe my brain was tricking me because of all the ghost-themed stuff of the season. But the fact that he started screaming in the other room when it disappeared is what really trips me up. Any thoughts? Just kind of want to know what people think, one way or the other. Deep down, I really think I saw a ghost, but I've spent the last few years telling myself it was sleep paralysis. There have been a few other weird little things, nothing as crazy as that, but let me know, I guess, if you want to hear that too, to form an opinion. Mantis alien abduction story. So here's my true story. It was 2019 and I had my first fully memorable abduction experience. I was abducted and interrogated by 2 mantis aliens. One was obscuring themselves and the other was revealing themselves to me. The interrogation began as I was transported to outer space, in a very quiet and isolated area of space. Both of the mantis aliens communicated to me telepathically, emphasizing how I was fearful of them in outer space. Slowly, the interrogation turned into a proclamation of love and protection. The visible mantis began to count. I do not remember them speaking at this time because I was focused on the illusion they created. They conjured numbers out of space dust, starting with 1, and when the number fully formed above their head, they would use their mantis prong to grab the number and sharply toss it over their shoulder. They continued this pattern until they reached 11. I remember them skipping the number 10. I'm not sure what the significance is. When they reached 11, they took both of their prong hands and ripped the number apart into single digits, tossing one over each shoulder. They repeated this with the number 12. By the time they reached 12, I had a full-blown spiritual experience and no longer feared what they were doing with those numbers. Seeing them rip the numbers apart made me laugh. When they realized I was laughing, they congratulated me on passing the test. Because they shared knowledge with me, they then wanted knowledge in return. This is where stuff gets weird. They started to sequence my DNA. I was laying in bed and started to float and rattle about a foot off the bed. My spirit was taken into outer space and was being worked on by the aliens. My body was floating towards outer space to reconnect with the part of me the aliens were researching. Whenever the research was done, I fell down from outer space and landed in the forest flat on my back and couldn't move. Forest insects like centipedes began to cover my body. The aliens felt immense joy from this. They were seeking to humble me. After my body was dropped in the forest, I was then transported via spaceship to my bed. I woke back up in bed breathing heavily as I fully re-entered my body. The whole thing probably lasted around 5 minutes Earth time. I have no doubt the mantis aliens can warp space-time. They seemed very large and communicated with me from a large distance across space, but I was still able to see their whole body. The 2 aliens had a very strong telepathic and psychic bond. The obscured one basically living inside the visible one so they could both be a part of this process. They seemed to enjoy sequences. The number sequence was also a message telling me that they were going to sequence my DNA. They seemed to enjoy math. I was still in college at the time, and after they gifted me with this knowledge, I started taking advanced math and computer programming classes, and did very well. AMA. Today's stories came from the R Paranormal, R Ghoststories, and R Alienabduction subreddits. If you enjoy the stories, please like and subscribe for further uploads. Goodbye.